Welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of Where. We'll answer the questions of where in Costa Rica we decided to call home and why.
If you didn't see part 1, we suggest you watch that first. It describes what we looked for in a home and our initial 3-month experience in Costa Rica. This episode, we focus on finding our second location and how that spot was golden for us. Welcome to Poly in Paradise.
When looking for our second temporary spot to try in Costa Rica, we learned from our initial experiences in Nosara. Our needs and want list were changed a bit. Daytime temperatures with a max of around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, nighttime temperatures dropping at least into the low 70s became a need. Being within 10 kilometers of a beach changed into being an hour from the beach, with a want of having some other types of water nearby still being up there as a want.
We also decided that we wanted to be a bit closer to larger hospitals and shopping than was close to Nosara, say within a half-hour's drive. Less variation between rainy and dry seasons was a want, with a focus on not being so dry. That also paired well with less water and power outages.
Last, but certainly not least, we wanted to be in an area that was not so touristy. Having some English speakers to talk to on occasion was definitely a plus, but if the signs and menus were mostly in English, that was a sure sign that it wasn't what we were searching for.
We narrowed down our search to 4 possible locations to consider for our second rental. The South Pacific, which is Quepos, Dominical, Uvita, Perez Zeledon, also known as the El General Valley, La Fortuna near the Arenal volcano, and areas west of the Central Valley towards Punta Arenas, like Grecia, Atenas, Orotina, etc.
We quickly chose to drop the South Pacific and the La Fortuna areas from the list. The South Pacific is indeed gorgeous, but in some ways it reminded us of a hot Nosara. Hot, lots of gringos, and still not close to major shopping and services. It probably didn't help that there had just been some major rains just before we visited there, and some of the places that we looked at were completely flooded. La Fortuna was cooler, but the large number of gringos and the tourism focus concerned us, as well as the distance to shopping and services was still substantial.
That left the area west of the Central Valley and the Perez Zeledon El General Valley in the southern part of the country. We used Airbnb and other services to find possible rentals. Most importantly, we actually went to the areas. Nothing beats boots on the ground. We found that actually seeing your potential rentals in person first was very important, as it helps reduce the potential bad surprises that you may have to deal with for months. Overall, the Perez Zeledon area seemed to be less expensive and a better fit for us.
Perez Zeledon is a canton of the San Jose province. It forms roughly 1/3 of the overall province. Bordered by the Talamanca Mountains to the east and the north, and a low coastal range called the Brunqueña, from the original Brunca inhabitants, to the west and south. On this border lies Chiripo, the highest mountain in Costa Rica. The Inter-American Highway runs directly through Perez Zeledon, crossing the Cerro de la Muerte from the Central Valley and running southeast towards Panama. The high mountains separate the valley from the rest of the country. Besides the Inter-American, there is only one other paved road leaving the canton, west to the Pacific at Dominical. These are mountain roads, subject to closure at times from rains and earthquakes.
So how is Pérez Zeledón different from Nosara? The center of the canton, think U.S. county, has a large city by Costa Rica standards called San Isidro del General. San Isidro has major hospitals, both public and private, larger shopping locations like a mall, Walmart, Pequeño Mundo, BM grocery stores. Yeah, we know how that sounds. And even some cultural locations. Temperatures in the valley were much cooler. Depending upon altitude, highs around 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit and lows around 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And brisas, or winds, were the norm. Perez Zeledon is not a major tourist area, so it was both cheaper and had far fewer gringos. It has a huge feria, or farmers market, which is the largest in the country outside of the Central Valley, as well as several smaller ferias in the surrounding communities. The valley has many rivers flowing through it and has a small rural community feel.
Like any location, there are things that aren't perfect. The closest international airport is in San Jose, 3.5 to 4 hours away, over Cerro de la Muerte, the Hill of Death. There are some bilingual schools, but definitely fewer options for international schools. Lastly, the beach is further away, 30 minutes in summer over some very crude roads, 1 hour in rainy season over paved roads.
So we found another long-term rental via Airbnb, but this time we stayed in it for a night before signing up for a 6-month contract. It was a beautiful wood house in the country near a small rural community and was very private. The grounds were beautiful. There's orchids and flowers everywhere, and we had all the limes we'd ever need. The rental also had more of our wants. It included a pool, a hot tub, a gardener, and a housekeeper. No air conditioning, but the temperatures were cool enough that we didn't feel the need for it. It was a relief after Nosara. The shortcut to the property almost made us pass on it. The owner took us on a path through a sugarcane field. Luckily, we had to go back into town to go to the grocery store, and the regular road out was much better.
There was one major issue. The internet speeds were not what we wanted. We negotiated an upgraded internet connection and signed the contract. Sadly, the internet remained an issue for us. There were frequent outages, and the speeds just never met the standard we agreed to pay for.
We found that we really loved this barrio, or neighborhood. The temperatures really were as expected, and we didn't need either heating or air conditioning. It was definitely private, but there were grocery stores, restaurants, and even an ATM within a 15-minute drive. There was also a little bar restaurant within walking distance down the street, as well as pulperias, think little convenience stores. And introductions from our landlord to some of our neighbors led us to going to have dinner and karaoke at Las Palmas, the neighborhood bar restaurant, which introduced us to even more people. I'm not sure which helped more in that, James buying rounds of drinks or me singing in Spanish.
The area didn't have a lot of expats, but there were enough that we found other people we could speak to in English. Our landlord also ran a local restaurant, and we met several expats there. San Isidro has an international women's group, which allowed for easy entry to meet even more people. The weekly feria even has an unofficial Gringo area, where all the English-speaking vendors are all clumped together.
The Rio General, the longest river in Costa Rica, ran near our house, visible from the upper level. A quebrada, or creek, ran behind the house, so we heard water from both sides. And there were so many birds of different varieties. We found good carnicerias, or butcher shops, pescaderias, or seafood, and what each grocery had or didn't have. The feria, the subject of a future video, became a weekly tradition for most of our fruits and vegetables.
As with any place, not everything was roses, or orchids might be the more correct term here. There were multiple challenges with our rental. At times, the power and water were shut off because the landlord forgot to pay. We had a revolving set of housekeepers over the time we rented there. And the gardener was more often than not around. The hot tub never worked. And the pool often became full of algae.
There were some physical issues with the house too. Despite impressive overhangs, rain came into the house at times. There were smells from the plumbing because there were no sink traps. The outside stairs were rotting out, as was a lot of the decking. Multiple fences collapsed, as did some of the light poles outside. And we were in a constant state of anxiety. Whenever we used the microwave, it would make this huge zap at times. The woodwork was truly beautiful, but there were issues in places, especially after seeing telltale signs of termites.
After about 3 months, we made a decision. This area was the spot for us. Just probably not the right house. But was there a specific location inside this area that we wanted to put down roots?
Pérez Zeledon, or PZ, has many different microclimates. Its elevations range from 3,900 meters to less than 500. Being surrounded by mountains, there are many very cool areas. The western Bronqueña coastal range casts a rain shadow in the west, while the towering Talamancas to the north and east get substantial rainfall. In addition, we needed to consider how close to San Isidro, the major city of the canton, we wanted to be.
In terms of microclimates found in PZ, we preferred to have something that was a bit more on the drier side. That ruled out some popular expat locations, such as Rivas, located on the northeastern side under the Talamancas, or Tinamaste, a village in the Bronqueñas along the road to the Pacific coast. Tinamaste is supposed to have some great views of both the valley and the Pacific Ocean. However, in the first few months we lived in PZ, every time we went through Tinamaste, the area was covered in fog. This allowed us to focus our search in the areas in that rain shadow of the Bronqueña range.
What we were going to buy boiled down to 3 concepts. Buy the place we were renting, buy an existing home, or build a home.
While we had some misgivings about the house we were renting, there were some positives. We really liked the neighborhood. We knew the issues that the house had and could get some pretty solid estimates on how much it would cost to fix them. And as we said, the woodwork in the house was beautiful. So, based on what we found, some similar types houses would go for. Minus the cost we knew the repairs and upgrades would cost, we made an offer to our landlord. And we knew he was looking to sell. While there wasn't a straight no, he certainly wasn't giving us a yes either.
We looked at several different homes located in the area, including ones located closer to San Isidro itself. We found one house that had extensive grounds, a guest house, and some really nice detail work. It was located in one of the barrios close to San Isidro. Indeed, major grocery stores and even a mall with a theater were within bicycling distance of the house. It also had some items that would need repair, but otherwise, it fit what we were looking for. So we made an offer. The seller asked for an extension, and with some reluctance, we agreed. At the end of that time frame, the seller came back and told us that they had accepted a different offer. Likely, they had used that time to negotiate with the other potential buyer.
So we considered the last option, building a home. That concept was my personal least favorite. I'd built a house before, and I knew how much stress that process can be. And that was in the US. I had heard horror stories about trying to build in Costa Rica. And since I knew the most Spanish and had the building experience, I knew the bulk of the work would land on me. It just wasn't the design and the construction. We'd have to buy all the furniture, all the appliances, etc. The advantage, however, would be that we get exactly the house we were wanting and where we wanted it to be.
The neighborhood friends we had made ended up being our salvation. The owner of the little neighborhood bar restaurant knew of a property near our rental for sale. That owner was getting older and was needing to move in with his daughter. There was a very small rundown casita on the property with water and electrical connections, but no other structures. What it had was about 3 acres of land with a variety of mature fruit trees and bushes on a hillside with about 500 meters of frontage on the Rio General. Even better for construction, the property was in view of the house we were renting, and by then we had months of in-person experience with the climate, rain patterns, wind patterns, etc. By contacting the owners through our Costa Rican friends, we found out the real asking price for the property, which was about a third of the cost that we saw the property being listed for on an English language realtor site.
The adage in Costa Rica is, buying is easy, selling is hard. We wanted to make sure that it was going to be easy, so we made sure to do all of our due diligence. We used a lawyer. We made sure that the electrical company and the water company would transfer rights to us. We made sure the municipality would allow construction on the property. We had a surveyor go through the whole property again. We learned the property restrictions, like no building within 50 meters of the river, preserving the forest part, etc. The contract specified that the money would be held in trust by the lawyer until the sale was complete.
In some respects, the decision was easy. We found we fit into the community already. Between hiring local workers, purchasing supplies locally, and volunteering in the community, we found we fit in even better. When we buy fruits, they're usually from our neighbors. Same with eggs, milk, and other items. Many of our furniture items were custom built here. Even gravel comes from a nearby company. And through the International Women's Club, we helped the local elementary school to get textbooks, a collection of library books, and even assisted in getting some playground items and a roof space for outside activities.
We loved the property. I had envisioned what the view of the river would look like from the upper level of the new house. I could see in my mind how the wind patterns would help cool the house, and the fruit trees alone were amazing. There was enough land that no one would be building next to us, preserving our privacy. So we made our decision to go forward with buying the property.
The actual clearing of the property, the home design, in part using shipping containers, the construction, and the finishing touches will all be subjects of later videos. Indeed, we're still far from finishing them all. For the purposes of this video, less than 10 months after we purchased the property, we moved into our still, as of yet, unfinished home. We've lived here for 16 months now and haven't regretted our decision at all. We found our where.
So hit that bell if you want to be notified when we post those other videos. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and all those things. And join us next time on
Poly in Paradise.
Hi there, YouTube. Hope you're enjoying our content. Don't make Max sad, so please like and subscribe to follow us on our adventures.